Have you ever taken a plate of yesterday's dinner, popped in the microwave, and thought to yourself, I'm just saving time? You probably have. We all do it. Life gets busy, food gets left over, and reheating feels like the smart, easy thing to do. But what if I told you that innocent habit, something you've probably done 100 times without thinking, could quietly be harming your health? What if those warm leftovers could be slowly damaging your brain, or even raising your risk of cancer? It sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? But here's the truth. Some of the most common food we reheat, everyday favorites sitting right now in your kitchen, can become toxic when warmed up again. Not just unhealthy, but downright dangerous. And for seniors, or for anyone caring for aging parents or grandparents, the impact could be even more serious. You see, as we age, our bodies become more sensitive. Digestion slows. Immunity weakens. And something as simple as eating the wrong food at the wrong time can trigger a chain reaction we never saw coming. Fatigue, brain fog, even memory loss or digestive problems that we write off as normal aging. But what if they're not so normal after all? In this video, you're going to uncover 6 foods that doctors have quietly warned us about. Foods we've trusted for years that can actually become toxic when reheated. And let me just say, number 6 is one nearly everyone has in their fridge right now. But when you learn what happens to it after reheating, you'll never look at it the same way again. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something from the heart. If you're watching this because you care deeply about your own health or the well-being of someone you love, go ahead and comment, I'm here below. Let me know that you're ready to protect yourself, to learn, and to do better. And if you believe, like we do here on Seniors Health, that a few simple choices can make all the difference in our later years, then hit that subscribe button. We're building a community that cares deeply, and we'd love to have you with us. Let's get into it, because the foods we're about to talk about might just surprise you. Picture this. You're preparing breakfast for yourself, or maybe for someone you care for, a loved one in their golden years. You reach into the fridge, pull out a spinach omelet from yesterday, and reheat it gently in the microwave. It smells good, it looks healthy, and after all, it's spinach. How bad could it be? But here's what most people don't realize. Spinach, while packed with nutrients when fresh, contains natural nitrates, the same compounds that help lower blood pressure and support circulation. Now, those nitrates on their own aren't the problem, but when spinach is reheated, especially in a microwave or on high heat, those nitrates undergo a chemical transformation. They convert into nitrosamines, which have been linked to cancer-causing effects in the body. It's unsettling, isn't it? Something that starts out good for you becomes harmful just because of how it's reheated. And yet, many of us are completely unaware. We assume greens are always safe because they're vegetables, because they're natural, because we've been told to eat more of them. But here's the truth. When reheated, some greens like spinach lose their protective value and become something entirely different, something your body no longer recognizes as helpful. Especially for seniors, who may already be facing weaker digestion and a higher risk of inflammation, these hidden chemical shifts can have a deeper impact over time. So what's the best approach? Keep it simple. Enjoy spinach fresh. Toss it in a salad, blend it into a smoothie, or cook it just before serving. If you do cook it, eat it right away. Avoid storing and reheating spinach dishes. And when it comes to leftovers, treat them as a short-term option, not something to stretch across several meals. Now, if that caught you off guard, hold on tight, because the next food is even more common, and its risk lies in how it's stored just as much as how it's reheated. Let's talk about rice. You come home after a long day. There's some leftover rice in the pot from last night's dinner. It seems like the perfect quick fix. You scoop it into a bowl, pop it into the microwave, and in just a few minutes, you're eating. It's warm. It's familiar. It feels harmless. But what if I told you that reheated rice, yes, plain old rice, can quietly turn into a breeding ground for bacteria? The concern here isn't just the reheating itself. It's what happens in between. See, when cooked rice is left sitting out at room temperature, even just for a few hours, it creates the perfect environment for a bacterium called Bacillus cereus to grow. This bacteria produces toxins, Not the kind you can see, taste, or smell, but the kind that can make you very sick. Here's the most alarming part. Even when you reheat the rice, the toxins don't go away. The microwave might make the rice steamy and hot, but the damage is already done. The toxins are heat resistant, which means once they've formed, there's no going back. This can be especially dangerous for seniors. Our immune systems weaken with age. What might cause a mild upset stomach in someone younger can lead to severe dehydration or digestive complications in older adults. Now, most families think they're being safe. They assume that heat kills all bacteria, so reheating leftovers is good enough. But the truth is, the microwave can only do so much. It heats unevenly. Some parts of food might not get hot enough. And in the case of Bacillus cereus, the problem isn't the bacteria. It's the toxins of bacteria left behind. So how do we protect ourselves and our loved ones? Be intentional. After cooking rice, cool it quickly within an hour and place it in the refrigerator immediately. Don't leave it sitting on the stove or kitchen counter. And when you reheat it, do it only once and ensure it's piping hot throughout. If it's already been reheated once before, it's time to let it go. It's these simple, quiet habits that make all the difference in elderly care. Things no one talks about, but everyone should know. And speaking of comfort food, let's talk about something that holds a special place in most senior diets. It's hearty, warm, filling, and surprisingly dangerous when not handled properly. Let's talk about potatoes. There's something so comforting about a bowl of mashed potatoes or a baked potato on the side of a warm dinner plate. For many elderly people, potatoes are a staple, soft, satisfying, and easy to digest. But here's where things take a turn. Imagine you've baked a tray of potatoes. Maybe you've wrapped them in foil, served dinner, and left the extras on the counter, thinking they'll be fine until morning. But those innocent leftovers could be doing more harm than good. Here's why. Potatoes, especially when cooked and stored in foil, create an anaerobic environment, meaning there's little to no oxygen. And when left out at room temperature, this becomes an ideal setting for a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. It's rare, but when it grows, it produces a toxin that causes botulism, a serious and potentially fatal illness. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds extreme. Potatoes? Really? Yes, really. Because it's not just about botulism. Even in more common scenarios, potatoes can grow bacteria that upset the stomach or lead to foodborne illness, especially when they're left out for hours and then reheated. This becomes a deeper issue for elderly individuals. Their digestive systems are more fragile. What feels like a minor stomach upset could lead to complications, loss of appetite, or nutrient loss. Things that, over time, add up. Here's the big misconception. We often think potatoes are too dry to go bad quickly. After all, they're just starch, right? But mashed potatoes, baked potatoes with toppings, or casseroles involving potatoes all contain moisture. And moisture is a key ingredient bacteria need to thrive. So here's what to do. Cool your potatoes fast. If you bake them, unwrap them before refrigerating. Don't let them sit in foil overnight. Store them in shallow containers so they chill evenly. And when reheating, do it only once. And make sure they're steaming hot all the way through. Again, it's not about panic. It's about preparation. Being aware of these small details can mean the difference between a peaceful night and a rush trip to the ER. But we're not done yet. There's something else in your kitchen. Something you probably drink every morning. Maybe while reading the newspaper or enjoying the quiet moments before the day begins. It's warm, it's energizing, and it can quietly do damage when treated the wrong way. Let's talk about coffee. You wake up early, a little tired, and glance at the half-full pot of coffee sitting on the counter from yesterday. It still smells decent, maybe a little bitter, but still drinkable. So you pour it into a mug, pop it into the microwave, and think to yourself, no need to waste a good cup. But here's what's quietly happening in that mug. Coffee, once brewed, begins to oxidize almost immediately. Its oils, those that give it its rich aroma and flavor, start to break down. Now, when you reheat that same coffee, you're not just warming it, you're accelerating that breakdown. The once beneficial compounds in your cup transform. The oils go rancid. The acidity increases. And over time, Repeated reheating can result in compounds that are harsh on the stomach and potentially harmful to brain health, especially in older adults who are more sensitive to dietary stress. It's not just about the taste, though that becomes noticeably bitter. It's about the chemical makeup. The more it changes, the less your body can process it safely. Now, here's a big misconception. Black coffee is just water and caffeine. What harm could it possibly do? But coffee is a complex drink, rich in bioactive compounds that are fragile and heat-sensitive. The moment it cools, it begins to degrade. And when you reheat it, especially in metal containers or in the microwave multiple times, you're not just reviving it, you're mutating it. So what's the best path forward? Brew fresh. Brew smaller amounts if you don't want to waste any. And if you must reheat, do it only once, preferably on the stovetop. Avoid storing it in metal thermoses, which can accelerate chemical changes, and never leave coffee out overnight. It's these small, seemingly innocent choices that add up over time, especially in our senior years, when the body is less forgiving and the mind more vulnerable. But if you thought coffee was surprising, wait until you hear about the next food. It's colorful, it's natural, and it's even known to support brain health. Yet when reheated, it can quietly do the opposite. Let's talk about beets. Beets are the kind of food that feels like a gift from nature, vibrant, earthy, and loaded with nutrients. They're often recommended for lowering blood pressure, improving blood flow, and supporting brain health. So, of course, we prepare them for our aging parents or ourselves with the best of intentions. But here's a question. Have you ever reheated cooked beets thinking it was a smart and healthy leftover meal? That's where the risk begins. Much like spinach, beets are high in natural nitrates, and those are good when consumed in their fresh or freshly cooked form. However, when reheated, especially more than once, those same nitrates convert into nitrosamines, the same compound we talked about earlier. These have been linked to increased cancer risk in several studies. The danger isn't immediate. It's subtle. It accumulates over time. And for seniors, whose bodies may already be fighting inflammation or oxidative stress, the impact can be magnified. One of the biggest myths? That just because something is natural and colorful, it must be safe in every form. But preparation matters. A beet fresh from the ground is not the same as one that's been stored, microwaved, and reheated twice. The structure changes. The impact changes. So what should you do? Enjoy beets raw in a salad or roasted fresh and consumed immediately. If you cook them, store them properly in the fridge and try to eat them cold or at room temperature within a day. Avoid reheating again and again. It's not worth the risk. And now, we come to the final food on this list. It's in every home. It's part breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner. It's praised for its protein. But when reheated, it could be putting strain on your liver and making digestion harder than you realize. Let's talk about eggs. Think about this. A boiled egg saved for later, or maybe a slice of leftover frittata warmed up the next day. It's quick, it's protein-packed, and for many seniors, it's easy on the teeth and stomach, or so we think. But here's the truth hidden behind that soft yolk. When eggs are reheated at high temperatures, especially in the microwave or stovetop, their protein structure changes. Those soft, easily digestible proteins become tough, resistant, and in some cases, toxic to the liver. Instead of helping the body repair and build, they place extra strain on digestion, something that's already slower and more sensitive in elderly individuals. Now, most people think eggs are simple. They're just protein, right? But here's the catch. Protein is delicate. Once it's cooked and then reheated, particularly multiple times or at high heat, it's no longer as digestible or beneficial as it once was. And for someone over 60, that shift could lead to bloating, fatigue, or even poor nutrient absorption, over time affecting overall health. So how do we approach eggs safely? Serve them fresh, preferably right after cooking. If you must store them, keep them refrigerated and consume cold within 24 hours. Avoid microwaving them, and never leave egg-based dishes like casseroles or frittatas sitting out too long. Because for something as nourishing as an egg, the wrong handling can quietly turn it into a digestive challenge. So there you have it. 6 everyday foods: spinach, rice, potatoes, coffee, beets, and eggs. Each one seems harmless, even healthy. But how we store and reheat them can make a world of difference, especially for our aging bodies and minds. And for our elderly loved ones, that difference can mean energy versus fatigue, clarity versus confusion, or even well-being versus chronic illness. It's not about living in fear. It's about learning, so we can love better, protect smarter, and age with peace and purpose. It's hard to believe, isn't it, that something as ordinary as reheating food, something we do every day, often without a second thought, could be quietly putting our loved ones at risk, not just of discomfort, but of serious illness, even long-term consequences like cognitive decline, or worse, cancer. And that's what makes this so difficult, because we've all done it. We've all tried to be efficient, to save food, to make life simpler. And yet, beneath that good intention, we may have unknowingly been making choices that add hidden stress to aging bodies. It's painful to consider, especially when you're caring for someone in their final chapters of life. And every moment, every meal matters. But here's where things change. Awareness is power. And now that you know, you're no longer in the dark. You're in control. Instead of fear, let's use this knowledge as a tool, a light that guides smarter, safer choices. Because when you take even small actions, like storing food properly, reheating the right way, or letting go of risky leftovers, you're doing far more than protecting a meal. You're protecting memory. You're reducing health risks. You're preserving vitality in yourself, in your parents, in your spouse, or in someone you love deeply. So let me ask you this. From one caring heart to another, before the day ends, take a walk to your fridge. Open it. Take a look at what's inside. And ask yourself, am I storing these right? Am I reheating things that could do more harm than good? Because small changes today can add precious years tomorrow. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to know the science of every compound and enzyme. You just have to be someone who cares enough to pay attention. Because love often looks like wisdom in action. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered today. The 6 common foods that become potentially toxic when reheated are spinach, rice, potatoes, coffee, beets, and eggs. Each of these, if mishandled or reheated carelessly, can lead to hidden dangers. But with just a little awareness, they can be managed easily and safely. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which one of these surprised you the most? Was there a food you've been reheating without realizing the risk? Or maybe you have a tip or story that could help others in this community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Let's grow together. And if you found this video helpful, if you learned something that could protect someone you care about, please consider subscribing to Seniors Health. We're here every week with real, practical advice designed for seniors and the families who love them. From nutrition to memory care, from physical strength to emotional peace. Our goal is to walk with you through the journey of aging with strength and clarity. Thank you for spending these moments with me today. And remember, you're not alone. Stay healthy, stay alert, and most of all, stay informed. I'll see you in the next video, right here on Seniors Health.